A few weeks ago, on a weekend, I embarked on a solo trip, planning to spend a few days in a remote town. Nestled among mountains and surrounded by trees, this small town was a place I had longed to explore. I found a promising Airbnb online, booking a cabin described as a tranquil retreat away from the hustle and bustle. After driving for several hours, I finally arrived at my destination. It was dusk, and the mountainous roads seemed to lead into the unknown depths. I drove down a desolate-looking path, with few houses in sight. Eventually, on the edge of a forest, I found my Airbnb. It was a secluded wooden cabin, surrounded by trees, giving off an aura of secrecy. I parked my car and approached the cabin, looking forward to a peaceful and comfortable night. Upon reaching the door, I noticed a key box hanging, with the host having provided me with the code. I unlocked the door and stepped inside, greeted by the fresh scent of wood. I settled my luggage in the cozy living room and began preparing dinner. After dinner, I decided to take a stroll nearby, exploring the scenic beauty of the small town. Hours passed by as I wandered, and by the time I returned to the cabin, it was late at night. Moonlight filtered through the trees, creating a mysterious atmosphere. Entering the cabin, I prepared to retire for the night. However, upon entering the bedroom, I noticed some unusual signs. A book on the desk seemed to have been moved, and a note on the floor was not in its original position. I felt a sense of unease but tried to convince myself it was just my imagination. The next morning, I woke with a sense of anxiety. I remembered the strange occurrences from the previous night but attempted to dismiss them as mere figments of my imagination. After breakfast, I decided to take a walk to a nearby lake, enjoying the beauty of nature. Upon returning to the cabin in the evening, I planned to relax with a cup of tea. However, upon entering the living room, I froze in my tracks. The furniture appeared to have been rearranged, and I was certain a potted plant was not in its original place. A sense of foreboding washed over me, a feeling of being watched. I hastened to the door, ready to leave the place, but was interrupted by a voice. Turning around, I saw a stranger standing at the doorway, a sly smile playing on his lips. "Hello," he said, "I'm your Airbnb host." Fear gripped me as I wondered how this could be. I had not expected the host to be here. Attempting to maintain composure, I asked, "What are you doing here? I didn't arrange to meet you." His smile grew more sinister. "I just wanted to ensure you have a pleasant stay here." Feeling a sense of dread, I decided to leave immediately. I hastily packed my belongings and fled the cabin, filled with unease and fear. Upon returning home, I reported the incident and requested Airbnb to investigate. They expressed concern and promised to contact me promptly. A few days later, I received an email informing me that they had investigated the matter and found no connection between the cabin's host and the area. They decided to remove the listing from the platform and provided me with a full refund. This experience left me wary of booking accommodations online and made me realize the importance of staying vigilant and safe. I resolved to choose reliable accommodation options in the future and to always stay connected to ensure my safety and comfort. 4 years ago, I rented an Airbnb as a temporary accommodation. It was during the holidays, and I decided to visit my family during the festive season. The Airbnb was located in an ordinary neighborhood, just a few miles away from my home. The day I arrived was December 20th, and the sky was already dark. I opened the door and entered the seemingly ordinary house. Everything was as expected, with no surprises. I dropped off my luggage and prepared to spend a relaxing evening there. That night, I had no plans to go out and just wanted to rest. I turned on the TV, did some work, and went to bed before 10 o'clock. I quickly fell asleep, but in the middle of the night, I was awakened by some noises. At first, I heard faint noises while half asleep, seemingly coming from the walls. Initially, I wasn't concerned, thinking it might be just the house settling. But as time passed, the noises became louder, even hearing some faint banging sounds. I slowly went downstairs to investigate the source of the noise. However, when I arrived downstairs, everything was quiet again. I didn't see anything suspicious, so I went back to bed and fell asleep. The next morning, I didn't dwell too much on the events of the previous night. I dismissed it as just a normal night, perhaps due to being in an unfamiliar environment. However, my concerns resurfaced the following evening. As I was getting ready to go to my parents' house for dinner, I noticed a stranger standing on the front porch of the house. He stood motionless, staring at me, which made me uneasy. I began to question the safety of the Airbnb. Why was a stranger standing at my doorstep? Was it a mistake by the landlord or someone else? I attempted to communicate with the stranger, but he simply nodded and then walked away. This incident left me feeling very unsettled, and I began to worry about my safety. I decided to inform my family and quickly leave the place. After dinner, I returned to the Airbnb, ready to leave. As I opened the front door, I heard a loud noise, similar to the previous night. This time, the sound was clearer and more intense, causing me to panic. I hurried into the house, trying to locate the source of the noise. I discovered that the noise was coming from a door in the garage, as if someone was trying to forcefully open it. I was terrified and immediately called the police. The police arrived promptly, and after inspecting the garage, they confirmed that someone had attempted to break into my residence. They informed me that the garage door didn't have an external lock, which shocked and worried me greatly. In the end, I decided to leave the place and stay at a hotel. This experience made me doubt the safety of Airbnb, and I vowed never to use the service again. This incident made me realize the importance of being cautious when renting accommodations to ensure one's safety. Even seemingly ordinary places can harbor danger. On the eve of last New Year's, my two best friends and I decided to rent a house, preparing for a fun night together. We had no plans to attend any large gatherings, just wanting to enjoy each other's company. Similar to last year, we all lived in dorms, so the idea of having a house to ourselves sounded great. This time, we decided to rent a cabin located on the outskirts, found through Airbnb. We had met Jason in New York, and he led us to the cabin around noon. It looked more like a cabin than a regular house, built entirely of wood with typical cabin features. We began to relax and enjoy our time, with no plans for loud noise. Kristen went shopping for snacks, while Jason and I chatted over drinks in the living room. However, suddenly, there was a knock at the door, surprising us all. I opened it to find a stranger standing there, looking angry. He told us in an unfriendly and stubborn tone not to disturb the entire area, almost threatening trouble if we continued to make noise. Despite not having made any loud noises, we still agreed and closed the door. However, shortly after, he knocked again, and I decided to ignore him. We told Kristen about the strange encounter, and he could hardly believe it. Several hours later, as we were preparing to watch a movie, we suddenly heard sounds outside, as if something had fallen to the ground, followed by the sound of shattering glass. We rushed to the window and saw that the windshield of Kristen's car had been shattered by a stranger wielding a metal rod. Kristen chased after the person, while Jason and I followed to stop him. However, before we reached the door, we heard gunshots. I stood frozen, realizing what was happening, until I saw Kristen miraculously sprint back and lock the door. Several shots rang out, hitting the side of the cabin. After an investigation, it was found that the stranger was not a resident of the area, and nobody knew who he was or why he attacked us. This encounter shocked us and nearly took our lives. This experience made us cherish our friendship and safety even more. We decided not to rent such places again, opting for safer locations to spend our time. This incredible event will always be remembered, reminding us to cherish every moment and be cautious of our surroundings.